Ex-Meta employee claims that she was getting paid $190,000 a year to do nothing. This is a video that went viral a while ago, but I actually came across an article about it and thought, you know what, let's just do a reaction video to this actual viral TikTok video, because this is insane, what she's claiming and stuff like that. But also too, I think the way that she told this story, the way that she came off, could have been done in a better way, because it kind of comes off in poor taste. So we're gonna go over it and watch it. I actually found two videos. One I think is the original video. I'm not quite sure, but it's enough to talk about. And then the second one is one, I guess, that she did as a follow-up. So this is really interesting. So we're going to jump into this right here. This is a Meta employee admits getting paid $190,000 for doing nothing. So let's just jump right in and get started, and we will check this out together.
And I was a recruiter. I was working at Meta. What did we do all day? That is a great question. When I was working at Meta and I was a recruiter and we weren't expected to hire anybody for the first 6 months, even the first year, this is something they tell you when you start. That really blew my mind. I was like, perfect. I'm just going to ride this out for a year. Obviously, I didn't make that, but you know. So what do you do all day? You're learning. They have a really amazing onboarding and training, the best onboarding and training I've seen from any company ever. It could have been better, but it was still very thorough. The expectation.
So I think in one of the other videos in the article I read, it was on it was talking about this particular situation. The claim was that she was working at Meta from 2021 to rolling into 2022. So obviously during that time, we had the pandemic situation going on. So things were moving very rapidly. I would imagine it was obviously a very difficult time, as we know now, for the organization. Number one, because the information that we have now was that, Mark Zuckerberg was getting approached by the White House, by teams that worked for that represented the White House, telling him that he needed to post and block certain information during that time. And he talks all about that in his Joe Rogan podcast. If you haven't seen that, you should definitely check it out, or at least check out some of the clips that have come out of it. It's very interesting. So it was a very chaotic time. Also, too, we're now learning that there's massive amounts of layoffs going on because they did massive amounts of onboarding and massive amounts of hiring. And I think this goes to show you that ultimately, that, we had talked about how a lot of organizations see windfalls and see massive surges in business, and they don't take the time to think about where are these surges, where are these windfalls coming from? Is this something that's normal? Is this something that's abnormal? They don't take the time to really flesh that out. There's a process of being sober enough to ask yourself, okay, what does this mean? Is this only because we're an amazing company, we got a great team, which I think everyone would acknowledge in that time. If you're making money, you do have a great team, you do have an amazing group of people that are working for you. However, you need to be prepared and understand what's going on in the market, because what I saw, even from a lot of friends of mine who had very high value sales positions, various different types of positions, the goals that were set rolling into the following season, or rolling into the next sales season or next quarter or whatever, were so astronomically high and absurd, and not acknowledging the I don't know, the obvious, the thing that's staring you right in the face, which is that things changed a little bit because we are in a different market. Like, things are so bizarre that, and these are friends that worked in certain sectors. Only certain sectors experience this. Many sectors experienced a massive drawback. I myself experienced a massive drawback, and my position was radically altered until ultimately my entire department was closed out at that time. So people are experiencing massively different things, and so this is during that time that she's saying this. And so they had a massive recruiting. She talked about how she didn't really know what to do or had nothing to do. So let's we'll go ahead and jump right back into it.
Issues when you start is really that you're just learning and taking it all in because you're drinking from a fire hose. I hate that. I hate that phrase so much. But the most that we did, this is the crazy part, is we had so many team meetings. why are we meeting? We're not hiring nobody. Just to hear how everybody else wasn't hiring anybody. And also, I was on a team where everybody was new, so none of us were hiring anybody. We were all just like trying to figure out things. None of us knew the answers to. We would ask my boss. She'd be like, I don't know, because she was new too. I really miss it. I wasn't doing it pretty much. That was nice. I miss those days. What did we...
Well, that's pretty much very interesting. It's a very weird complaint. Now, however, obviously the people responded negatively to her video here, and it's understandable why. That was not a very flattering. I think it was mostly the way she talked about it and her personality, because there is a valid complaint or a valid concern, because there are very many people, like for instance, there are very many people that when they get hired into a position, they want to feel valued. They want to feel like they're bringing value to the organization. And so it's not wrong for a staff member to say, hey, the work that I'm doing doesn't really seem to be a work of high caliber. Like I want to earn. I mean, if she's claiming she's making $190,000 a year, I want to do the work to earn that salary. And I think that that's a fair thing to say. There's a lot of people commenting that are calling her stupid just because they're saying you were getting paid $190K a year to sit there and do nothing. You shouldn't complain. The best job ever. They call her dumb because she ruined it, because in this video she claims that things eventually went sour. That's what happened, is she started posting stuff about Meta and about like their workings and difficulties with their position, and she kind of breaks into that more in this video here. So a follow-up, but you can see how the story wasn't, hey, I was doing nothing until I was fired or until I was let go. That's not what the actual story is. But the way she went about talking about it definitely comes off. It can definitely cause people to take it in a wrong way. She had a very valid complaint / concern, and I wonder if she actually went up to higher levels of management to ask, hey, what's going on here? I'd love to do something. I mean, she says when she was first brought on, they told her they weren't going to be doing anything for at least the first 6 months to a year. And so they obviously, which they had talked about this, they were on a massive scale planning on doing much more assimilation and growth in following up in the current year. And so they were preparing for that. She was a recruiter. They brought her in as a recruiter, and they were saying, hey, in about 6 months to a year, we're going to start massively recruiting. And they were making her do training. And so, if that was the communication, then there is a little bit of a point where you have to understand how tech organizations work, but that's a whole nother conversation of what they were trying to do, because we had already seen where articles have now come out saying that that's what they were doing. They were scaling upward for preparation of massive growth, because they projected that the growth they were experiencing during the pandemic was going to continue in that direction, and that's not what happened, because it turned out that people just had nothing to do. Once again, it's like organizations have to be better. That's been a classic issue for many organizations over a long span of time, that they see this growth, they see things happening, and they don't think rationally, or they're not sober in their judgment to say, hey, we're experiencing a very adverse situation. There's a windfall. A competitor just went out of business, and that competitor captured 20% of our market. And so now that competitor has lost, that 20% is now free. That's why we're seeing this massive level of growth. The goals and the projections that you're seeing are not sustainable once that market share is spread out to everyone else in the market. Or a competitor experiences a price increase, a price gouging, a product malfunctions, a product goes wrong. These are things that cause shifts in the market, and that's something that should be taken into consideration. Obviously, social media and online is a massively different animal, but I'm just saying every organization and every place experiences weird shifts in the market, fluctuations, and they need to be prepared and sober enough to ask themselves, what is the source of this? So that way they can make good judgment. It will save you money in the long run, and it saves you headaches like this, where you have angry staff members saying things about you and potentially turning away good talent. So it hurts the organization in more than one way. It turns away other talent now from wanting to work there. And the massive amounts of bad press that Meta is getting, especially when it comes to layoffs. So imagine, trying to recruit in that market. That's very tough. I don't think they're pretty well known, and so I don't know if they're experiencing that much of a difficult time, powering through this. But a regular organization, like now, if you're scrolling through Indeed to go working for a place, you look at the star ratings and the thing has like a 2-star rating or a 1-star rating to work there. You go into the review section, you see the people that are doing your exact position that you're applying for, and you read through the complaints. You acknowledge that, there's bitter staff members that are just there to hurt the organization and they're not being honest, and, maybe they did something to make it worse. But when you have multiples of the same complaint from different states all over the country, you're kind of like, okay, I'll pass. And you move on to the next one. So that's how it hurts the companies more than one way. So let's check out this next clip. This one is interesting, and we'll see what she says here.
Every time I talk about my experience at Meta and how I hated it and how they fired me after 6 months, the number one question I get is, why did I get fired? I feel like I have to talk about this at least once a quarter, so here we go. I started Meta at, September, October of 2021. It was cool. I was like, oh my God, I love social media. I didn't have a following then. I didn't even have a TikTok. After I started my job at Meta, I posted a TikTok about Meta and my benefits. I would always see these day in the life videos, and they'd be so cool, of like people going into the Google office and the Facebook office. And I worked remotely, so I didn't have like free food and all that other stuff, but I had a really amazing benefits package. So I made a TikTok. It just happened to go viral. It was like maybe my 3rd TikTok I've ever made. And I usually never talked about work before this, and I never talked about recruiting because to me work was work. And I thought that was obvious. So anyways, I talk about benefits at Meta, and it goes viral. And then I get a bunch of questions. People think it's like an ad for Meta to work there. I was just sharing my benefits because they give you $4,000 in baby cash. If you have a baby, they will give you $4,000. I just thought that was crazy. And they gave you, at the time, $3,000 for childcare reimbursement, which for childcare is nothing, but it's also better than nothing. You know what I mean? Anyways, so it went viral. A lot of people who worked at Meta saw it. It wasn't a big deal. They were like, oh my God, I loved your video. Until it was a big deal. And then they stopped loving my video. I got written up for something that was on my story.
So, yeah, I'm not quite sure. That video that she's talking about with the benefits, that's obviously not the video that we just watched. So I'm not sure if what that was about, or what the deal was with that one. She's talking about how she posted and talking about benefits, talking about things of that nature. I do know that is a pretty common thing that you don't do. And that it's pretty much understood across the board that when an organization offers you benefits, it offers you different things, that you don't go and publicly state that these are the benefits and this is my pay and this is all the stuff that I'm getting for working here. Because I do know that from a principled standpoint, you may have gotten in on the last ring of a benefit that the organization is no longer able to offer, or is changing or restructuring their benefits. And so companies do not like it when people share stuff like that. Also, I wonder if the video that she shared, showed her face and all this kind of stuff, because the videos that I've seen where people talk about a day in the life of whatever, they don't, they basically talk about eating food at a restaurant that's on campus, doing yoga, all things that, obviously we're all looking at it like, gosh, it must be nice. But what I'm saying is they're very, it's nothing that's like super secret corporate information. She's talking about a video where she shared dollar figures and actual amounts. Like, she just admitted amounts of the benefits she's receiving as a recruiter, because she's a recruiter. That is egregious. You don't do that. I mean, you don't do it. I'm not going to say it was morally wrong, but it's definitely something where it's like the organization is not going to like that. There's no way that the organization is not going to like that. That is just not, there's no way the organization is going to be okay with that. That's not a good idea ever, to talk about actual dollar figures, actual dollar amounts, actual like, hey, here's how much I'm getting paid. Here's what my benefits are. Here's what they're offering me. This is my benefits package. That's not a good idea. That's never a good idea. So as a recruiter, it's like that you're working in a field where you should understand the needs and the desires of the company you're working for, the organization that you're representing, to not want you to share personal information like that. To be salty about it is, it's like, that's just not, you don't do that. You just don't do that. So that's very foolish. So the story unfolds. Now it's, she was talking about, she was a little upset because they weren't really doing anything, but now it's more or less like, oh, okay, what you did was you went online and you made a video go viral for the wrong reasons. And like she said, she's seen other videos talking about this stuff, and so she doesn't understand why it's a problem. If you don't understand why it's a problem, you're the problem.
I wasn't necessarily talking crap about the company, but I was just sharing how challenging it was working there, because
so let me if you have to this is funny. If you have to make the statement, I wasn't necessarily talking crap about the company, then you were talking crap about the company. Like, I don't even need to see the video at that point to verify that. Like, if you make a video talking about information like this, and when you're making the video and you're getting ready to post it, you watch the video back and you review it and you say to yourself, okay, am I talking crap about the company? Let's just make it like that. Let's say you do something similar to this. Am I talking crap about the company? If that's even a question and it's a doubt in your mind, don't post it. Just don't do it. Because that means that if you are struggling with perceiving this as a positive thing or perceiving this as a life-giving thing, then that means that the organization, when they see it, if they ever see it, eventually when they do see it, will struggle with it as well. So it's just, that's a little nugget of wisdom for you. Just don't do it. If you want to keep your job, if you're there to stir up trouble, then by all means stir up trouble. However, just understand that when you do crap like that, it's going to make you look bad. It's going to make you look worse, because no one's going to see the inside workings of what's going on between you and your management, you and your company. And when you start coming out and just blah, 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 running your mouth like that, it makes you look bad. It makes you look terrible, because especially to the people, like I understand you have comments that'll tell you, oh, it's great, that's horrible that they're doing that to you. My company did that to me. But to the people that matter, to the people that are going to be your next recruiter, to the people that are going to be your next hiring manager, I'm going to tell you right now, I've done some hiring for companies. I've hired for a tech company. I worked with a tech company where we had to onboard and hire 30 staff members to start up a project. And so in that process, if I ever came across someone posting about a previous company like this, or if in the interview process that person started running their mouth and talking trash about the company that they worked for in that way, it's okay to be like, well, it didn't end well. We had some disagreements. It's another thing to be like, well, so they did this and they were terrible and this is what they did, blah, blah, blah. All that kind of stuff. You're done. You're done. You're not getting hired. It's not happening. It's not happening, especially if you posted to social media about it. It is not happening, especially at that point with that organization. We were a startup tech company and we were strapped for cash and we were trying to stretch the dollar as much as we can. We were trying to make sure that our burn rate was healthy and okay for the capital that we were receiving, the investors that we're receiving. And so we could not afford to deal with crap like that. To deal with people that would potentially take what we were saying and post it online and deal with a whole slew of backlash or negative press or anything. And especially when you're dealing with investors and they see stuff like this going on, they get nervous because they're like, oh, look, they have no control over their staff. It's a zoo over there. It's chaos. It's like, no, so you cannot allow for this to happen. You cannot allow for this to happen. So it's too risky. So once again, she's a recruiter. Like, she should understand this, but I digress.
Recruiter, you reach out to people and they would just cuss you out. I posted about that on my story. I got written up for that. I was like, people are watching my story. Mind you, I did not have followers at this point. I think I had maybe 2,000 followers.
So I'm sure there was other things that she talked about. I'm sure that wasn't the only thing, but she basically says in this video, my job was difficult and tough. It was hard because it was hard working at Meta, because as a recruiter, I would reach out to people and they would cuss me out. And so it's like, is that Meta's fault? I don't understand. When I was in sales, I would get a lead and I would call someone and occasionally they would cuss me out. I've gotten 50 million calls, blah, 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 beep, 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 and, shove you off the phone. That's not my, That's not, I didn't blame my sales organization for that lead. I was like, well, you know, clearly there was something went wrong and the whole thing got mixed up and that person's upset. That's not their fault. That's just, it's, you know, tough luck. I mean, tough cookies, like move on. Like it's, you know, that's part of the job. So I don't, yeah.
Followers on Instagram. So I was shook. I was scared. But I was posting content on TikTok that had to do with like recruiting and careers, but not Meta. Specifically not Meta, because at this point I had gotten talked to about my social media at Meta 3 times. Three.
Okay. So even at this point, even though she's posting stuff about recruiting and all this stuff, and she's already proven to the organization that she takes it too far and there's no limit to what she's going to do. And so she's like, I'm posting over here. It had nothing to do with Meta. It doesn't matter. The connection's already been made. The connection's already been made that you work at Meta, you represent Meta, and everyone knows it. And I don't understand how she can't see the problem there. And you know, you're working at this organization, you say the benefits were great, everything was great, you know, they were kind of having you sit there, and so you continue in this behavior, and you continue in this way, and, you know, you don't understand why they're nervous, and they're asking you to stop. Like, so, it just, this is terrible. This is just terrible.
Different occasions. So I was like, I'm not going to talk about this company at all. They even asked me to talk about the company on LinkedIn and to share about our hiring. They even wanted me to host a workshop on.
Lots of companies do this. It's a cleaned up version of trying to post and recruit. Lots of recruiters do this. This is a mainstay for a lot of recruiters' jobs. I know a lot of people in the recruiting field. I know a lot of people who recruit specifically for tech, but I also know a lot of people who recruit for insurance. They recruit for real estate companies. I have a couple friends that work in various different aspects, various different industries, and even like, you know, I have some self-employed individuals who have a specific way of recruiting for their company, recruiting staff for their company. This is a common thing. They ask you to post to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a platform in which people can apply for jobs and host workshops that show you how to do stuff, how to be attracted to recruiters and all these things, because they want to show that they are going to invest in their employees. And so if they're coming to a workshop hosted by the organization Meta and they're learning something and they're growing in their career, the hope is that it attracts people who are like-minded in that way, that want to grow, that want to get better, that want to learn and want to do things better. And those are the kind of people you want in your organization. It's a net to capture more people.
On how to use LinkedIn to build your personal brand at Meta, simultaneously complaining about my social media. It was insane. So I was like, no, I'm not doing it.
It wasn't insane. You've already proven to them that you could not be trusted. You've already proven to them that you didn't understand where the line was at. You've crossed the line at this point, and they were trying to tell you, look, as a recruiter, this is the kind of activity we want you to have on your social media, on your LinkedIn. The other activity that you're engaging in is not what we desire. You need to cut that out. You represent a social media company, and so there is a very specific way we want you to represent that social media company on social media. You are a recruiter specifically. You know, the other videos that she talks about are typically the day in the life of these programmers. So there might be a different set of rules here because she is a very public figure. In a way, she is a salesperson. You know, your regular salesperson would be selling to your customer. She's a salesperson selling to your staff. She's a salesperson trying to recruit the right people into the staff.
Doing that anymore. I'm just not going to talk about the company. So one day I get a call from legal. This is my 3rd time, so I already knew what was going on. At this point, I was so miserable because I felt like I couldn't even talk. I felt like I couldn't post on my stories. I couldn't post on TikTok. I felt like I was being watched all the time. Because every time I would post something, my boss would be like, hey girl, come on. I get on the call with legal. They go through 20 of my TikToks, 20 of them, to ask me if they were appropriate. It was the most.
So they go through 20 of her TikToks, and she's freaking out like, oh, they go through 20 of my TikToks to ask me if they were appropriate. I think this was a meeting where they were going through 20 of her TikToks to try and show her, hey, this is what we're upset about. What is your response to this? And I think this was her chance to be like, I'm sorry, you're right, this was wrong, this was incorrect, I shouldn't have done this, I'm going to take this down immediately, I'm so sorry. And just based on her demeanor here and how she's handling herself in this video, that would have been the nail in the coffin right there. And it probably was the nail in the coffin. I bet you the next thing, why I got fired at Meta, I bet you the next thing is she got canned.
Most embarrassing thing I've ever experienced. So anyways, I knew I was going to get fired, so I quit.
Yep.
And then they fired me the next day.
Yep. See, there you go.
If you want to take full control.
Nope, I don't want full control. Okay, there you go. And that's how it works. How to completely ruin your opportunities with a great company. And so, I mean, she had some valid criticisms. If you get hired on and you're sitting around and you don't really have work to do, a lot of staff wants to be valued. They want to bring value to the table. They want to come in. They don't want to just earn a paycheck doing nothing. But I know it's hard to believe. Not everybody is like, wanting to mooch off the big company. There are people that want to do things that are valued. They want to feel valued. They want to feel worth in what they're doing, and they want to feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves. I can't stand looking at this dude giving me the lips like that. So that's what they want. And so and so that's a fair comment. That's a fair thing to want. And it's up to the organization to reassure them if the plan was we're going to hire you on for 6 months to a year and eventually we're going to upscale and do all this stuff. It's up to the organization to reassure them, hey, this is the plan. You are valued here. We want you to be here. This is where we're going. There needs to be a clear line of communication. But obviously during this time, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on. She was working remotely. There was, so I just think that there needs to be a little bit of grace on her part for the organization, and on, because it's like, hey, that was a chaotic time for everyone. There was a lot of people whose worlds were completely turned upside down and they were trying to figure it out. So it is a little unfair for her to be so critical in a time where everyone was in the same boat trying to figure stuff out. But and then on the flip side, the story gets deeper and we come to find out that she was doing stuff to stir the pot, and she wouldn't stop stirring the pot, and she's trying to act like this is such an egregious thing that she experienced and that she did nothing wrong. And it's in her own words, betray her. You can clearly see how she kept digging the hole until there was no turning around, and they let her go. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you got something out of it. Comment below, what do you think about this? Do you think that I've missed something? Do you think that maybe there is a reason why she should be upset? Do you think that maybe this is just another example of how these tech companies are doing massive waste? Please like the video. That really does help me. I really appreciate it. Please comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch if you made it this far, and I will catch you guys in the next one.